Welcome to my scientifically informed insider look at mental health topics. If you find this video to be interesting or helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can talk about the themes that we might see in a relationship between a narcissistic mother and her daughter. Now, when looking at the construct of narcissism, it's clear that narcissism causes damage in a number of different relationship types, including parent-child relationships. We know that people who have narcissistic parents describe experiences that can be categorized into themes. And that's what I'm really looking at here, specifically the situation where a daughter has a mother who is narcissistic. What are the themes that would be reported by daughters in that situation? To answer this question, I used a research study that interviewed 13 women who had narcissistic mothers. I'll put the reference to this article in the description for this video. These participants came from Finland. The age range was 32 to 69, and the average age was 52. The participants were in a support group for the children of narcissistic parents. So the researchers analyzed the narratives provided by those participants, it was hundreds of pages, and identified themes. Through this process, 3 themes emerged. 3 ways that one could describe a childhood with a narcissistic mother. These themes are incompetent childhood, isolated childhood, and denied childhood. As I go through these themes, I'll include quotes directly from the participants. These quotes were included in that article. So let's look at each of these 3 themes, starting with incompetent childhood. This theme can be broken down into 3 elements: nullification, demonstration of power, and shame. So starting with nullification. Here we see the daughter is never appreciated. She was never shown gratitude. She never heard the words, "thank you." She never received support or encouragement, and she found herself giving up on important goals she once had, including the goal of pursuing an education. The mother could not make a mistake, but the only thing the daughter could do is make mistakes. Activities that the daughter chose to do, or values that she attempted to form, were designated as silly, worthless, and non-productive. If she chose an activity that met the mother's needs, that may be satisfactory, but usually nothing that the daughter did would be good enough. The daughter's hopes and wishes would not be tolerated, and she starts to think of herself as an extension of the mother. So some quotes here from the nullification component of the incompetent childhood. "I have tried to deserve my existence by being useful." Right? A very sobering quote there. "Somehow my mother sensed my weakness and insecurity." I have seen this many times in my clinical experience where this is how someone feels in that situation. And she would always create arguments that she could win. I find this was interesting because this really shows how the narcissist creates the situation on the battlefield, right? They choose the environment. They fight when they want to fight under the circumstances that they have designated. It gives them a marked advantage when it comes to winning these arguments. The next component is the demonstration of power. The mother determines what is permitted. Whether the daughter follows the mother's instructions or not, the daughter was always wrong. The continual expression of dissatisfaction is all the daughter gets to see. Now notice there's really no way here for the daughter to win. Compliance or rebellion lead to the same conclusion. So this is just a situation where the daughter is trapped, right? There aren't many variables that she has control over. There may be no variables that she can control. The daughter may be humiliated by the mother in front of others. The mother cannot regulate her behavior. Her use of power rises to the level of cruelty. The mother did not seem to be able to establish good boundaries, and her behavior was erratic. This speaks to the no safe place to churn idea that we see with these situations. Again, the daughter is really trapped. The mother is not stable, not reliable, and the daughter never knows what to expect. So some quotes here related to this demonstration of power. "When I put on clothes, I had to take them off because my mother said they were of an ugly color, and I should wear something she had chosen, usually blue clothes. I hated blue for a long time." This idea of an individual hating what their mother preferred is something I've seen many times in my clinical experience. This is really a common theme, I think. There's this idea that when preferences are forced upon somebody, they're going to push back against that, which seems like a natural reaction. The next quote, She showed in every way how disappointed she was in me and how I ruined her life. So a narcissist blames their children, and really everybody, for how their life turned out. Shame is the last component of the incompetent childhood experience. This is considered to be a product of the demonstration of power and the nullification. So shame is like the result. The daughters were ashamed because they couldn't do anything right, and they felt like they had no value. They formed an identity based on inferiority, weakness, worthlessness, ineffectiveness, and imperfection. A quote here from this category: I felt ashamed of just existing. I tried to be non-existent and obedient. Right? So the daughter really kind of frames her life as a life of service and a life of suffering. A sad commentary about the effects of the narcissistic parent. Now moving to the isolated childhood. So this is the second of the three major themes. This theme has three components: dependence, blaming, and the last component is envy and creating a shiny facade. Starting with dependence. The mother made sure that the daughter was dependent on her. She would limit the daughter's contact with other people, including friends. The mother viewed other people as competition, and she did not want competition. The purpose of the daughter was to satisfy the mother's needs. All the energy and attention in the household was pulled toward the mother like a black hole, right? Just brought everything in. Everything positive would be drawn in by the mother. Her presence was inescapable and undeniable. No one could forget she was there, even if they may have wanted to forget that she was there, right? The attention-seeking behavior is really hard to kind of put out of one's mind. The mother would try to pit the daughter against the father. Even he was considered a competitor. The daughter wasn't allowed to pursue romantic interests, and the daughter wasn't allowed to tell anybody about the level of control the mother had. Secrecy is an important part of this dynamic. Some quotes here from Dependence. She never had anything positive to say about other people. We were not allowed to tell outsiders about how things were at our home. Right? So really fairly straightforward. The next element is fairly straightforward as well. This is blaming. Here we see the mother can blame the daughter for anything with no reason or logic behind it. So again, this one's fairly direct. The quotes here: my mother was a master of finding someone to blame afterwards, and I still do not know when she is telling the truth. Right? So this is interesting. I've seen this many times too, where the individual who had the narcissistic parent grows up and they never are able to establish trust for that parent. Right? They just don't know when the parent is being truthful. They don't know if they're trying to manipulate. The relationship never really stabilizes and becomes secure. So this takes me to the third component of the isolated childhood: envy and creating a shiny facade. The mother despises other people as a way to bolster her own sense of value. Everything in the home has to be perfect. If the daughter received a compliment about her behavior, the mother immediately took the credit, appearing to be caring and sensitive. The harsh reality of the misery the daughter experienced really juxtaposes sharply against the ideal fantasy that the mother projects to other people. The daughter was not allowed to be happy unless that happiness was related to the mother, right? Unless that happiness helped make the mother look better or made the mother happy. Quotes here: I cannot tell my mom about the good events in my life. So the daughter has nowhere to go with her own good news. Next quote: my parents were respected and trusted in their work. Therefore, no one could imagine what kind of nightmare my life was as their only daughter. Right? So this goes back to that familiar theme of the daughter being trapped. The daughter has no options. This really adds to it by indicating that the daughter has no way to even be recognized. So it's beyond being trapped. She can't even communicate with other people and explain how her situation cannot be changed. Right? So no one's going to empathize with the daughter. Even when somebody's trapped, they take comfort in others being able to see them, being able to recognize that situation, as unfortunate as it is. The daughter is denied this. This brings me to the last theme: denied childhood. We see here three components: violence, threatening, and rejecting. Starting with violence. Well, this one's fairly straightforward. The mother would often use violence as a way to punish the daughter. Absolutely no provocation was required. A quote here, "My mother really hits us with a stick and hand without any reason." Next we have threatening. The daughter lived in constant fear of making the mother angry. The daughter learned to be careful about everything that she said or did. Quotes here, "Everyone was afraid of my mother." Now, this person could be talking about her family, like everybody in the family was afraid of the mother, but this could also extend to outsiders. Other people could see the situation and think, I don't want to get involved in that. That seems frightening to me. The next quote, "By constantly assuring her how perfect she is, I tried to keep her in a good mood." So the daughter not only suffers at the hands of the mother, she has to work too. She has to work to keep the mother in a mood that won't lead to more bad consequences, right? So constant terror, constant fear in the situation for the daughter. The next component is rejection. The daughter has never had basic safety. The mother forgot her, ignored her, and left her alone. The mother offered no protection, and sometimes this will allow others to mistreat the daughter. So here we see even more pain, right? So the daughter has to worry about the mother, and now she has to worry about the mother's lack of protection. So other people come out and try to harm the daughter, right? Mothers typically protect their daughters. We don't see this with the narcissistic mother. The quotes here, "All my toys were taken away because I was told that I was too old to play with toys at the age of 9. Right? So the mother's really just cruel, lacks empathy. She doesn't care. It's all about her. Next quote, "I was afraid all the time." Right? We know that constantly being in fear, especially as a child, leads to a lot of suffering later on, as well as suffering in that moment. So those are the three themes we see with the narcissistic mother. What types of outcomes would we see with each of these three themes? Well, all three lead to shame, right? It's a component of the first theme, but really it's part of all three of the themes. Now, in general, incompetent childhood leads to feelings of inferiority and worthlessness. Isolated childhood, this turns the daughter against other people and focuses her toward her mother. We also see hypervigilance as a consequence here. Denied childhood leads to a sense of insecurity and feelings of fear. In general, people who are raised by narcissists, including daughters raised by narcissistic mothers, are more likely to have insecure attachment, which places them at a greater risk of developing psychopathology. So that's how we kind of look at the pathway to mental disorder in this situation. Insecure attachment contributes to it. It's not 100% of the cause, but we think it is, in some cases at least, a major contributor. Now, these participants really struggled to tell other people about their mother's narcissism. They didn't know if anybody would take them seriously, or they didn't know if anybody would know how to help them. We see the feeling of isolation caused by the mother persists as the daughter grows older. So when I think of the mother-daughter dynamic, and this could apply to a variety of dynamics, but specifically with this dynamic, we see this image, this analogy of two trees, right? The mother is a tree, the daughter is a smaller tree. As the daughter, this tree grows up, we would hope the tree would grow straight and would be resistant. Like, so when the wind blows, the tree wouldn't bend too much. And what we see here with these two trees is that the mother is pulling that smaller tree, the daughter, either into her as that tree grows or away from her. But either way, that tree does not end up straight. It ends up curved to one side or the other. And sometimes, with the approach dynamic, where the mother is pulling that tree in, the trees become intertwined. And when we think about a tree, we know it's not just easy to untangle that. If the two trees are intertwined, that's a very difficult dynamic to alter. If the daughter tree, so to speak, is curved away, well, that curvature is still difficult to correct. Now that tree is isolated. It's not necessarily better for the daughter one way or the other, too close to the mother or too far away. Both of them result in that curvature, which is unhealthy, right? So this is how I think about a lot of parent-child dynamics. Sometimes people say to children of narcissists, why don't you just straighten up, right? To use the tree analogy, why don't you just straighten up? Well, because the individual grew in that direction, right? So there is a distortion which is present there that is not easy to correct. In real life, of course, it's not the curvature of a tree, but a cognitive distortion. and that's something that counseling can help to address. So this analysis of these themes about the narcissistic mother really underscore the importance of promoting education about the destructiveness of narcissism. It causes harm at every level, but the narcissistic parent wreaks havoc that has the potential to lead to a lifetime of suffering. Fortunately, counseling can help many who are in this situation, but prevention is really the key to containing the narcissism epidemic. Now, I know whenever I talk about topics like narcissism, there will be a variety of opinions. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.